Hey guys, it's Miss O'Donnell. Hopefully yesterday the lesson on circles went well. Today we're going to move forward a little bit. We're going to start talking about angles. So, yesterday we learned lines in a circle. So we learned radius, remember it goes from the center out to the circle. Chord, which is a segment that goes across the circle with two endpoints. Diameter, which is a chord that goes through the center. Secant is a line, crosses 2 times. Tangent is a line that crosses 1 time. And we talked about arcs. So we have minor arcs, remember, are small, named with 2 letters. Major arcs are big, named with 3 letters. So take a second, pause the video, try to name for me a secant. All right, you should have chosen VX. Secant's a line, so it has 2 arrows, crosses 2 times at V and at X. That's a secant. All right, now try to find for me a diameter. All right, you should have chosen TW. A diameter is a chord, so it's a segment, 2 endpoints. It goes through the center. All right, and if you're forgetting what we learned yesterday, you can always go back to Google Classroom, watch the video. It's also a good idea, I didn't mention this yesterday, but to take notes. So I know you guys don't have your note sheets. You probably don't have a lot of your notes, but if you grab a piece of paper, just kind of jot some stuff down, important things, so you can go back and reference it, so you don't have to keep rewatching the video. That's going to be a really good idea. All right, so now we're going to move into angles. So we're going to learn, I think, about 5 different angles inside a circle. We're going to do one at a time. So the first one is a central angle. So what I want you to do is think about for a second where you think a central angle is going to be located. All right, it's going to be at the center, right? Central angle at the center. So we need to create an angle at the center of this circle. So think about what type of lines we learned yesterday that could make a central angle. So hopefully you thought about a radius. Right? A radius is the only line that goes right to the center. So here's a central angle. We can name it angle BAC or CAB. The angle is right here at the center, right? This angle A. It's formed by 2 radiuses, right? BA and CA connect at the center, form this angle. That is a central angle. So every time we learn a new angle, we're going to relate it to the arc. So if you notice, this angle BAC creates this arc BC. And yesterday we learned that arcs are measured in degrees, angles are measured in degrees, so we're going to see how they're related. For central angles, they're going to be the same, so they're congruent. This angle BAC is congruent to the arc it creates, right? If this is 40, that's 40. If this was 90, the arc would be 90. This was 110, the arc's 110. Whatever the angle is, the arc it creates is going to be exactly the same. So you remember from yesterday, what do all the arcs in a circle add up to? So if I went all the way around a circle, how many degrees would that be? Hopefully you remember it's 360. So then what do you think the central angles are going to add up to? So if you think about it, the angles are equal to the arcs. So if the arcs add up to 360, the angles also are going to add up to 360. So everything in a circle is adding up to 360. Okay, so take a second, think about this. What is the measure of arc LM? So that's this arc right here. Hopefully you said 45. Central angles are equal to the arc, right? This angle right here makes arc LM. So if this is 45, the arc is 45. So here's another one. What is the measure of angle OKP? That's this guy right here, OKP. Hopefully you said 130, right? The central angles are equal to the arc. This arc is 130. This angle creates the arc, so it's also 130. All right, so hopefully that makes sense. We're going to get a little bit more in depth now. So you'll notice this circle has a bunch of different angles, a bunch of different arcs. We're going to have to be able to find a way to solve for all of them. So if I gave you these 2 angles, we can solve for all the missing angles, all of these missing arcs around the circle. So I'm going to give you a few tips. Tip number 1 is to look for diameters. So a diameter, remember, goes across the circle. through the center. So this LO is a diameter. And diameters are lines, and you should remember, hopefully, that angles on a line add up to 180. So that means if LO is our diameter, these two angles have to add up to 180. It also means these three angles on this side add up to 180. We also have this diameter, PN, which means this side adds up to 180, this side adds up to 180. So go ahead and try to solve for angle LKP. That's this guy, LKP. Your hint is to look for a diameter. All right, so you should have used this diameter LO, which means that these two angles, OKP and LKP, have to add up to 180, which means 130 plus whatever this is 180. So if you subtract those, you get that LKP has to be 50 degrees. 50 plus 130 is 180. All right, your second tip is to look for vertical angles. So hopefully you remember vertical angles are angles that are across from each other. They're formed by intersecting lines, and they are congruent. So using vertical angles, I want you to try to find the measure of angle or arc NO, this guy. So hopefully you saw that LKP and NKO, these two angles right here are vertical, which means they're equal. If this angle's 50, the arc is also 50. All right, and your last tip is to remember that circles add up to 360 degrees. So if you have everything, all the angles except for one, you can add them up and subtract them from 360. So I want you to try to solve for arc MN. Remember, you can pause the video and try to solve for it. You might want to grab a calculator if you haven't already. All right, so what you should have done was you saw that you had every angle except for MN. So if you added up 45 plus 50 plus 130 plus 50, you get 275. Subtract that from 360 and you find out what's missing. That would be 85 degrees. So arc MN is 85 degrees. So that's the basics of central angles. So if you're feeling good, that made sense to you, you can go ahead and start the exit ticket now. If not, I'm going to go through a couple more sample problems with you to hopefully help you out a little bit more. So if you're feeling good, just go ahead over to the exit ticket. You're good. If not, you can keep watching. I'll go through some more angles. All right, so here's a new circle. So we want to find the measure of angle TZY. So first you want to find the angle. TZY is this guy right here. And you want to find the measure. So remember our tips: 1, diameters; 2, vertical angles; 3, circles add up to 360. So take a second, try to figure that one out. All right, hopefully you got 160. How I did it is I used VY as a diameter, which means these two angles add up to 180. So 180 minus 20 is 160. All right, now try to find the measure of arc XY. So remember, XY is a minor arc. It's over here. You should have used vertical angles, these guys right here. This one's 20, across from it is also 20. All right, what is the measure of WY? So WY is still a minor arc, but you'll notice, whoop, it's this big guy. So what you should have done was realize that we need W to X and X to Y. So W to X is 80, X to Y is 20. You want to add those together. So arc WY is 100 degrees. All right, now try to find the measure of arc WTY. All right, so hopefully you recognize WTY is a major arc, which means it's going to be pretty big. It goes from W around to T all the way to Y. So it is this big long arc. which means we'd have to add WV, VT, and TY. So we know what VT is and TY is. We don't know WV, so that's the first thing we need to solve for. So hopefully you saw we have all the angles except for one. So you want to add everything up, subtract it from 360. 20 plus 160 plus 20 plus 80 is 280. So subtract that from 360. We know that WV has to be 80 degrees. So now to find arc WTY, we add 80 plus 20 plus 160. We get 260 degrees. All right, hopefully that helps. If not, I am going to post some extra videos to help explain it. Feel free to email me. Feel free to join my office hours from 12 to 1 or whenever your teacher's office hours are. You can now start your exit ticket. I hope you guys have a really great day.